The Rainmaker is a 1956 film directed by Joseph Anthony and written by N. Richard Nash and stars Katharine Hepburn and Burt Lancaster. And the only reason I watched this, or the initial reason why I watched this, was because of Katharine Hepburn. I love her. Currently watching all of her films. Not too many left, but The Rainmaker is definitely one that I really enjoyed, and I'm glad I had a reason to watch this. This focuses, it's set during the Depression, and it focuses on Katharine Hepburn's character Lizzie and her family, and they're experiencing a drought. And of course, they really want rain. And along comes Bill Starbuck, played by Lancaster, who is a rainmaker. Is he? Is he a con man? Well, that's kind of the question throughout a lot of the narrative. And he promises in exchange for money to generate rain. And when people are desperate for rain, they're going to try and take any opportunity that they can. And we also have a sub narrative revolving around Lizzie's potential romantic interests and whether or not she'll end up with either of them by the end of the film. So there are numerous questions that the film addresses. Who will Lizzie be with, if anybody? Is Starbuck a con man? And ultimately, will it ever rain? And I think the element of mystery surrounding these three things are really fascinating, and I really enjoyed watching those parts of the narrative develop. And I found that to be really pleasing and quite good fun in a way. Obviously, it's quite a serious thing when people are faced with drought. It can cause all kinds of problems. It's not a comedy as such, but I feel like the characters in this made it a really entertaining journey because they're so likable, and I absolutely adored the performances. Lancaster gave a great performance as Starbuck. He was such a likable character, very mesmerizing. I was very much drawn in to what he was saying and to these promises of making it rain that I fully believed him. And I think it would be very easy to be lured into what he was saying, particularly in times of desperation. Lizzie is also really likable. Sometimes she was a little bit, I don't want to say whiny, that's not quite the right word, but occasionally she wasn't my favourite person. But for the most part, I found her to be very likable. I think obviously very well acted, very well performed. So the characters and then a great narrative made this really enjoyable to watch. I also love the set design of the house, the Curry's house. There's just something about it. I can't quite work out what it is. It has quite low ceilings, and it gives this sense of well, in a way, I guess it gives a sense of claustrophobia because everything feels very tightly packed in. But also, as a viewer, it's very easy to feel like we're in that house and like we're part of it because everything is very close together, and it's kind of like we're in that room, in that environment. And I think that worked really well for this household. The costumes are gorgeous. The scenes outside are very well done as well. I'm not entirely sure where this is filmed. According to IMDb, it was filmed in Kanab in Utah, and also Paramount Studios. So the sets and the locations were really pleasing, and this was actually also nominated for two Oscars. It didn't win, but it was nominated for Best Actress for Hepburn. And honestly, I feel like I agree with that, but I think Lancaster should have had a Best Actor nomination as well. It also had a nomination for Alex North for the Best Music Scoring or a Dramatic or Comedy Picture. When watching it, the music didn't stand out to me as being anything overly incredible, but at the same time, absolutely nothing wrong with it, so I don't have anything against that nomination. I enjoyed it. The characters are great, the narrative's great. There are a lot of questions in this that it does obviously ultimately answer, and I enjoyed the anticipation of finding out those answers. Definitely a film that I'd say is worth watching. Sure, I only initially heard of it because of Katharine Hepburn, but I'm glad I had a reason to watch it. The Rainmaker is definitely a film that I'd be happy to watch again, and absolutely one that I recommend.